Let's call to order the Water Sewer Commission's meeting, Tuesday, August 9th. On the rise, pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Welcome one and all. The most fun meeting in Norton's history, I believe. There you go. All right, we have minutes to approve.
We do not.
Okay, let's see, whip check marks are going easy. All right, John, it's all up to you, and I only see one page.
It's bullet points, so I can expound upon them. My assistant superintendent updates. It's been a pretty, thankfully, relatively quiet couple weeks. One of the biggest things that you guys, I'm sure, remember from last meeting is we had a couple of unauthorized flow tests, sprinkler test, and fire pump test. So we sent out the fines for those. Sent those out in letters. I believe it was $1,000 each.
Plus the fee.
Plus the fee.
Yeah.
So there was, we've had a little pushback as far as who should be required to pay it, but it is the property occupant's water and device, so it's really there.
Yeah, who's ever pays the bill?
Right.
Really,
So, we sent out letters, our sprinkler testing compliance letters. Basically, we send a blanket letter out to everyone in town who has a sprinkler system registered with us. Generated a lot of calls, mostly from people that it doesn't really apply to. Either they already do what they're supposed to or have a dry system that doesn't get tested using municipal water. But there have been some that definitely didn't know about the regulation, and the one thing we tried this time is a lot of places have, like Walgreens, for example, has a mailing address in Ohio. So we said, okay, well, every place that doesn't have a mailing address in Norton, we're also going to go hand deliver a letter to them in person. So I do expect some positive impact from the letters. It seems like it got to a few more people than it normally does.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of the people who already do it correctly are like, am I doing something wrong? Because it's, worded to get your attention.
And it's just the information that just needs to be out there. We don't want to sit here and be finding everybody every week. We don't want. We just want to protect our system, and with their help, we can avoid things like that.
Yep. And we haven't had any. I believe we actually have a sprinkler test this Friday morning at 6 a.m. 6:30 maybe. Yeah. But we're trying to push them all off as much as we can because we really need rain.
That and just a Friday, you're chasing dirty water on the weekend.
Yeah. Well, it's off West Main Street, so I don't anticipate any major problems. But we obviously need rain. I'm sure everyone thinks the drought's over with that rainstorm we just had, but have a meeting with. I don't know if it's EPA or who it's with tomorrow, but it's a state webinar to talk about the drought. So I wouldn't be surprised if State Street's right around the corner, but you never know.
Yeah, they reassess the phases every week.
Right. So Thursday,
is that Drought Advisory Commission?
Yeah, I believe it is. Yeah. I believe it is who the call's with tomorrow. I believe. I'm sure, Steve, I know you know about the bleach shortage. We did get a delivery last week, which we were kind of worried about, so that was nice to have that, to not have to worry about, what was it, something Mansfield was considering the...
calcium.
Yes.
We got a pallet of the calcium in. We're still grappling on how we're going to implement it if we have to.
Right.
But that's another hurdle.
Right.
Yeah.
We're really hoping to avoid that.
Yeah.
I think we'll be. We just got a pretty big delivery. So, what else?
You part of Serge's bid, right?
Yes.
Oh
yeah. Yep. Yep. But we didn't, of course, we didn't get the surge list until about,
Yeah, it was
maybe-
late over.
maybe
I think-
4 weeks ago.
I think they got new people,
Yeah.
so everything was a little slow,
Right.
slow in generating, because I just got mine as well.
Right, right. We had to resample last week, a sample, I think it was a bad bottle, right near the treatment plant.
Bacteria?
Yeah,
Okay.
but it wasn't, it was just a background hit, I believe, and so they resampled it, everything came back fine, yeah. Today, Resende's tied over Elm Street to the larger main, because I believe the plan, and we had to shut down from Cross Street to East Main, because the original plan was to just tie it in and be able to close the valve and no one would really lose water. But the valve is junk, so they had to shut it down farther and put some people out of water. And it kind of stunk because we didn't really learn about it till yesterday afternoon, what the real situation was. So some people, despite my efforts to get everyone notified yesterday, found out by turning their faucets on this morning that there was no water. But they got it all wrapped up around noontime and
Oh,
everything
good,
went
that's
well. Yeah, they moved very, very quickly. I mean, I'm sure they started excavating, right at 7 o'clock, so. Tomorrow, they will be tying over Town Hall and the fire department in the morning, and the library in the afternoon. So hopefully we get those done. I have received calls about, the contractor keeps asking about the mess up they made for the highway garage. They put a 6-inch, and Frank was,
8 was.
yeah, I don't know if, Frank said he was gonna talk to the engineers. I don't know if that's you,
He did
or,
email me.
yeah.
Resende's called me on that.
Right,
Yeah.
so, I mean, from what I've talked to Frank, I mean, it's probably gonna just have to be left the way it is, but I didn't wanna say anything to them until
Well,
they really
well,
get
the way
back
it was
about
left
it,
with,
so.
with me, because I didn't know too much about it, other than my knowledge from water. I didn't know if it was gonna be a loop system. I didn't know if it, I didn't have the calcs, I just wasn't sure, so I couldn't give him a definitive answer. I mean, if it was designed for an 8, then I told him, I said, it's gotta be an 8. I said, but, for the breakdown between the 6 and the 8, ultimately, is
Right.
it gonna make that much of a difference? So maybe you can get away with it, but I said, I just need to talk to someone in the know more than me, so.
Yeah, so I emailed Frank last week, and his question was, and what happened for everybody else, on the new main, and I believe that that new service is definitely off of the 16 now.
Right.
So it's a 16x6 tap, it was supposed to be a 16x8 tap. I don't know if they installed anything more, but that's just the tap right there on that main there. So it's really localized. They could do an immediate increaser and go right to 8-inch and bring it all the way out to the yard. So you are gonna have a little bit of a restriction right there at that point. There's no, as far as I know, there's no fire meter or any kind of fire line that's actually metered or anything like that would impose it, but he did talk about eventually possibly looping it later to back around.
Right.
It is not what was designed, but it is, and just at that point, so you've got your gate valve, you'll have a 6-inch, the tap, and then a 6-inch gate valve, you can come right off of that with an increase if you want. So there'll be a little restriction there, but as long as the whole line going there isn't a 6-inch. I'm assuming it's also unlined right now, so there's no way they're getting 8-inch flow through whatever service they have right now. If it even is, I think we approved it, but, so it's not ideal, and then I said, why don't we talk about credit then, hey? I mean, they've been,
Yeah,
but I don't know what you mean.
especially if it's not in the plans, they're like, well, that's not in the plans, so we'll have to, upcharge on it, so it's,
Well, if it's an ultimate loop, then to me, it's a moot point. I mean, that's great. I mean, we loop everything.
Yeah,
It's gonna help
that's the
everything,
thing that's
so.
not known about what the future
So-
town hall design is, and if it comes back around.
Exactly.
The thought would be at the very least, it can just increase it right away. And, so the existing plans, that's one thing I wasn't sure. I think the existing plans didn't call for an 8, or this is
Oh,
what's
I was
after the
pretty
fact?
sure.
I thought they called for an 8.
I'm pretty sure it called for an 8, and it
Yeah,
was just
okay.
a straight up error.
Yeah.
He said that too.
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
That's what he
yeah.
told me. instead of culvert, we put in a 6.
I just don't know if
And
they
he wanted some
installed all the
guidance.
way to the property line, because it's the 16's on the other
No,
side of the road.
from what I gathered, when he talked to me that day, that's when it was, when he just tapped it,
Yeah,
so
so hopefully they didn't bring 6-inch across the street.
well, I'm just to say,
That's-
if that's the case, then, I mean,
Yeah,
and that's just
I don't know, I
kind of
mean,
a horse
they
with a
seem
different-
very strict about how much material they have on site, so I imagine them saying, well, we didn't have a
Right.
8-inch reducer. I don't know. But I never heard back from Frank last week, so I don't know if he actually talked to his vendors directly after.
Yeah, I mean, I think he has talked with them a little, but I don't think it's officially been resolved yet.
Okay, because
So-
I did talk to Frank, because I called him, because I was wondering why he was calling me. I didn't know, I haven't been hands-on, so,
Well, if we had been on the project before it was designed, we would have
Right.
been doing something totally different, so, and now we're just all kind of stuck with what was decided
Yep.
on 2-3 years ago.
And on that note.
Oh, good,
we
another
got,
bullet, yes.
We got preliminary plans for the intersection of North Worcester, South Worcester, and 123. State wants to redo that intersection.
Wow, really? I drive through that intersection 6 times a day.
Yeah.
Not anymore.
So they
what are they gonna do? What are they gonna do? But don't tell me,
Well-
you tell me a rotary, I'm moving on.
no, not a rotary. Could it get any worse than it is right now? That's
No,
the
it's
question.
it's tough.
So,
Yeah.
You know,
Thank
I
you.
would have initially thought that they were kind of try to straighten that intersection out a little bit, but apparently they're kind of planning on making it more like the center of town, where you have two
Lights?
totally
Oh, man,
non-lined
really?
streets with lights.
Well, that'll definitely safeten it up a
Yeah,
little bit.
so there was some stuff, I think they still thought the 8-inch main going down North Worcester Street was active, so that was wrong. Same with, going to Old Colony. So, and they're gonna have to move a hydrant there because they're taking a very good chunk of that new rustic fire property,
Really?
very big chunk of it.
They would, I would think they would have to actually, if they're gonna.
Yeah, so,
Yeah.
So,
we want them to relocate the hydrant kind of down on Old Colony.
didn't they renew the water main on Old Colony, or was that the other side of the hill?
No, I believe, I'd have to look at the plans again, but I thought that was renewed all the way to
the
I
line.
thought that 8-inch, because the 8-inch was tapped off the North Worcester Street, I thought that was all newer.
Yeah, because I think
It's definitely before I
I was
was
living
here, but,
over
yeah.
there, on Old Colony Road, and when they did the main.
Right. So hopefully we'll be a little bit more, obviously that's a much smaller job, but hopefully we'll have a little more say in what happens there.
Okay.
What else?
So what happens with that project? Is that, where's that project now, in the design stage?
They just sent us over preliminary plans to review and send our notes back on.
Is that something we get Weston Sampson to review?
I'm sure, Frank and I were just taking an initial gander at it. Have hydrants tied off the wrong main and relocation that couldn't possibly happen, so. I wasn't here when the the East Main Street job was really getting put together, so I'm not sure
We were
what
on
your,
at 90%.
Yeah.
It was a little late.
right.
Yeah, I think
So-
as long as there's some setups for connections for the future, when you guys wanna replace your mains on any side of the
Mhm.
intersection, I think we wanna make sure it's set up and abandon parallel mains and whatever else is out there, if anything is still.
So in this set of invoices, there are invoices to pay for the East Main Street project. So
Mhm.
what part of this project would we have to pay for? I mean, why are we paying anything?
We probably actually, I shouldn't say we won't have to, but if all they're doing is relocating a hydrant, I would say either we would just have to pay for the hydrant, but if they're relocating it, I would think it would have to be at their cost, because it's totally, where the hydrant is now is gonna be road. So, but I think they just wanna make sure what they're showing us is accurate, but there shouldn't be any there shouldn't be really any water infrastructure done as far
So we
as.
pay for the 16-inch water main when we did the East Main Street project?
It's an existing
yeah,
parallel main,
yeah,
so you have
it's-
16 and
it's
10.
existing.
And it
They're
changes.
just they're tying these services over. Any services that weren't tied over to that main are getting tied over to that main.
Is that what we're paying for?
Yeah, more or
That
less.
and, yeah, we had to provide hydrants,
Oh, because we added
ourselves.
4 extra hydrants, or
Right,
whatever that was,
right.
right, okay.
And then there was the whole,
And insertion valve,
insertion,
other,
yeah, with the,
the shutdowns weren't.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
in this particular stretch, our water main's fine.
oh, yeah, oh, absolutely, yeah, there shouldn't be any, the only thing they should have to do is relocate the hydrant.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what about the sewer in that area, or not?
No, nope, no sewer. No sewer,
Not yet.
yeah, maybe someday,
Way down the road, I think.
yeah, yeah. This week there was a service leak on Taunton Ave, resident called. Initially, we thought it was a break, the way he called it in. But we got down there and it was in his own driveway, but the curb stop was paved over. They had to dig it up, and then the curb stop didn't work, so, but it was definitely, we had someone walk over to where the puddle was, and this was like a dirt gravel driveway, and they just tapped their foot on it, it looked like jello, like pudding, so it was a significant leak. It was probably leaking, especially with it being so dry, it was probably leaking for a good amount of time, so, but they got that fixed, and, yeah, running a little short-staffed this week, just, people using vacation time and whatnot, and trying to keep our eyes on this East Main Street job the last 2 days, and I believe they replaced a hydrant today, replaced a hydrant last week as well. A couple hydrants last week, so.
Is there any kind of light in the tunnel when they're gonna be eventually paving that? That end over there? I know.
It seems like they're digging it up again every day. I don't really know what they still have to do over there.
Well, last time you said they were waiting for Verizon.
Yeah, but it seems like they're digging up, not just the side, it seems like stuff that's been paved already multiple times, they're redigging it up, so. But it's not for tying over water services, so, but they initially said fall. I still find that very difficult to believe, but we'll see.
So
We'll see.
have
They
we
started
heard,
very late, so.
have we heard anything from that other 40B?
Island Brook.
I don't
No,
know.
I have not heard anything. I was talking about Frank about him the other day, and they actually did contact Resendez about getting their lateral.
I was gonna
Which
ask
is
that,
actually
there was
2.
something recently about that.
Yeah,
that they were asking
and
about.
which is supposed to be 2, and I don't know if he's under the impression that
They have to do
we're
that. That's-
paying
that's
for
their
it,
loop,
or
right?
they're gonna run 2 laterals across the street, leave hydrants on them,
Right.
so it can be looped eventually, but it definitely doesn't seem to be much sense of urgency.
No, there doesn't.
No.
And
was-
once the road's paved, it doesn't matter what you do. I mean,
There was at the meeting they were here.
yeah,
They were very adamant about us slowing them down. But
I think they're still very stuck on what they're gonna do with sewer.
Sewer, yeah.
Because
Sure that.
I think they had a little more resistance from the Concom about going through the back of that property because it's a change in design,
Yeah.
and then
It doesn't
May
sound like
have
the
to get
MFN's
kicked
too psyched to have them
Yeah.
in the road at all either, though,
Right.
so.
once we actually talked to the developer of the project, he was a little bit more on board with going out the back of the property. I don't think Mr. Gallagher even told him about it, honestly. But I remember when they had reached out to Concom about
I
it,
missed it.
there was some pushback, and that was the last we ever heard,
Yeah.
so. And then,
There's no flags up there. Okay, good.
as far as the Pine Street cluster development, we had some of our operators meet one of their engineers out on Briggs Street, because they're thinking about possibly running the water main through, in fact, Briggs Street, which we don't really have any.
Where's Bridge Street, is that a paper road?
Well, so there's a there's South Washington Street, and then there's Briggs Street, which crosses the interceptor, and it's a dead end. And then there's a trail through the woods that will lead you behind the Birchall Fields, but it'll also take you to the back of the Pine Street Balfour Farm property.
Okay.
And it's I believe it is a paper road. What's the word? In theory, you know, on paper it is, you know.
Well, I think we saw that because I think Fran and I looked at a map when we first started talking about the plant, about doing a cross-country main.
Right,
And there was that, it almost looked like an easement,
right,
that possibility of bringing from that over.
right. So there was some sort of, it wasn't anything Frank and I heard, it was something I had picked up from conservation, something about whether it was actually a paper road, because it's listed as that, but there's no documentation of how it became that. I think it used to be private property. There's something not quite.
So you say a paper road, you just mean it's like written on paper somewhere, but there's no actual road plowed in?
It's not paved.
Yeah, it's-
Yeah.
Usually they're wide enough to drive a small car down, but no, this is
Okay,
not.
so
This
the
is just a
utility
trail
road or-
through the woods,
Right,
yeah.
okay.
So we met them down there, marked out the main. Pretty confident it's an 8-inch AC pipe, but we don't have any documentation. It's been there a very long time, so marked it out and they'll see what they do from there. And the Pine Street residents and possibly a member of the planning board will be attending next week's meeting to discuss the water on Pine Street and how they think it should affect the development of property that's not theirs. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Looking forward to it.
And that's all I got.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Could you just tell us how we're doing on pumping and whether or not the status of the wells?
Well, I talked to Chris Perry, who's they're all treatment operators. He's kind of more of a well operator. He did the drawdowns the other day. He said they're actually not too bad. I mean, they're definitely running around the clock. Not literally, but pretty close. Well 1 and well 3.
Have you had to
run
ramp
times
anything
is
back?
pretty-
No?
Not that I know of. Not that I know of. I mean, they've been, the wells 1 and 3 have been running like crazy, and which isn't ideal, but
No dirty water calls in?
there's been some. There's been some. I mean, when you're running that well that much, you're not going to avoid it, which doesn't help with these Pine Street residents coming next week, or next meeting, but you know, it's need the water. Nothing you can really do about it,
Yeah.
you know. I almost forgot, I didn't put it in my notes. Tara had emailed us about, I'm sure she'll talk about this in her updates, about
You stealing her thunder?
well, I'm helping her is what I'm doing.
Teeing it up.
Yeah. Getting I don't know if it's really a temporary VFD is the word, but sort of a temporary VFD, so possibly Denkris can start their work sooner than waiting for October and then maybe not getting the VFDs for the...
What is VFD?
Really?
Very,
Very real frequency drive?
Yeah.
So, other than that...
I want to hear more. Talk to me, Goose. Thanks, John.
Yeah.
Tara?
You wanna go with water and sewer? 'Cause I grabbed Steve.
We're on the edge of our seats with the VFD information,
Just
so.
put it there. So wells 5 and 6, we talked about previously, the one, electronics and pretty much what's holding the water us up. So they placed the order in, right now it's still scheduled for October. They had proposed to possibly just kind of set up like a soft start and just kind of go directly, hook it up, about, I think it was around $4,000 or so, a change order. They could get started sooner than later. It does allow them to start on well 6A, if you will, kind of get all that moving and then be able to test that pump. So they're gonna add the pitless adapter in and be able to start things up, and instead of having to wait till October. But so it saves you a couple months. It allows them some flexibility to start getting paid for some of the equipment that they've got on site and get started a little bit sooner. It seemed, Frank and I emailed a little bit about it. It seemed like a reasonable cost for just kind of moving ahead and trying to get the water a little bit sooner. They will need to go back in, take that out, and hook up to obviously the new VFD when it arrives and get that work. But there is some kind of demo work that needs to be done anyway in well 6, the actual station versus what we're creating, everything pretty much.
But
outside.
it's functional enough where they would be able to probably do 5A completely and then probably go back and
Yeah,
do
so
it
we'll have
after.
6A, we'll kind of have 6A running. 5A is currently running on our temporary setup that we've had everybody else beforehand set up. Dankers will come in once 6A is online and everybody at the plant is okay. 6A is approved for 600 gallons a minute, 5A is 700, so that is a little bit of a flex. We really wouldn't be taking 5A offline until we're kind of a little further out of the drought and the operators are confident that that's a good timing. So, but you could at least get 6A up and running, get it all tested, approved by DEP, and then move on to the next, and onto 5A, and then take that offline, get that all set up, and then work. So the whole goal for them is to really kind of get everything done by the end of this year and have both wells fully functional on the proposed new VFDs that we have. So there'll be just a little bit more add drop on their end, but you know, so if it seemed amenable, so I forwarded the information along to our electrical engineers just to double check to make sure things looked right. But it seems reasonable to go forward with such a low price. It's not too much of a deal, but
And that puts it all up and running by the end of this year?
it definitely at least gets one of them on. I don't want to promise that the VFDs are not going to be further delayed because we've all seen a lot of issues. But as of now, the arrival date is
That's awesome.
October. So if they all arrive on time, that's their plan.
That's
is to get
fantastic.
things going. So yeah, I mean we've been dealing with some supply chain issues and they're just at this point, everything else is more or less arrived and they're kind of stockpiling everything at the well site right now and really looking to get everything done. So that we were gonna kind of propose that and see if that's something that you're interested in. It probably will save you about a month and a half maybe.
Yeah, anything, I mean, $4 grand?
Yeah, it's under, I think it was under
Or
that,
so.
but yeah.
Well, yeah, I think it was.
It looked like it had their markups in, but I
35,
just wanna get something
like
official, but the quote was like 35 and change, yeah.
that. And that's if the VFD gets here in October. We're always playing that game too.
Right.
So,
It's a little bit of a, you know, and that's, yeah, I mean, you'll just be watching it a little bit more, and there'll be some telemetry that needs to be taken care of. But on the other hand, if we just kind of have it running, like we're doing right now, 5A is just running. That's what we're pretty much have it doing. So you're not adjusting the flow rates at all.
So what does that have, a power code? No?
Gosh, now I can't even remember what we had originally set up out there. So the driller came out, we decided to put in the temporary pump that we had actually done a pumping test on, and just direct wire it in to flow.
So it's on off?
Yeah, it's
Pretty
manual.
much. Okay.
Yeah, so the operators, like, they, you know, if they need to take it offline, they will, but it only comes offline if the plant's offline,
Good.
pretty much. So that, I guess, yeah, that's my well 5 and 6. I did have also, Dankers had proposed pay estimate number 3. We talked about this last month. We were kind of a little concerned that there was a little bit of a holdup at Town Hall with the fiscal year changeover, and we were waiting for additional funding sources. So this whole construction project is supposed to be funded through the Auchincloss funding. So we did have a call with town manager and the town accountant, just kind of talk about ARPA, Auchincloss, Special Congress fund, federal funding, when that's all coming through. It's a little still up in the air on when it's coming through as far as the actual funding, but at this point, you currently have appropriations set aside for wells 5 and 6 that should be able to cover the full construction contract, and you can get reimbursed through that. So that's really why the town accountant was kind of pushing things on not paying invoices until after the new fiscal year started, because you really can't reimburse for past
Previous
fiscal
fiscal
years,
year.
and it does get a little bit more complicated, so
So hopefully we get the option class money by next July.
that is the new goal, is by July
The
of
whole
this year,
fiscal year
so-
to get it.
So that auction cost money is, EPA's directly kind of related to releasing those funds, correct?
Correct, so Frank asked me to respond back to the Region 1 EPA rep that he got an email from just today. John and Frank got another email from an EPA, countrywide DC office, and said, oh, we're not sure, it was just kind of it seemed more or less like a blanket statement that everybody across the country is
Right.
getting, but I think that EPA Region 1 is a little bit on top of their game. So they've already selected somebody to be kind of your champion from EPA to kind of start reckoning with that.
So has anyone received any funds from that? Or everyone that,
As far as I know, no, but it is kind of just that region. I mean, it seems like it's just about 6 projects in this kind of Claus's kind of congressional district. So I think it's imminent. I think we're all in agreement. It just is, just like ARPA and all the other things, you gotta just go
Yep.
through the hoops. So
as long as we can afford things and still keep moving forward without
we can move forward with
hiccups.
5 and 6. So the downfall is on the flip side as well. 4, you have no appropriation set aside for well 4 because we had heard that Aqua Claus was coming, and I'm just going to call it congressionally federal funding. But so the last town meeting that was pulled from the slate because you weren't going to have to fund yourselves, and now we really can't move forward with that until we have the money in place. So there's a potential that James is going to look into, the town accountant's going to look into potentially, if we have an official date when that will be available to reimburse, there could be a temporary loan that can be taken out and other processes, but for now, we're on kind of a holding pattern with well 4.
Okay, so that can stay in limbo until we do our other stuff and.
Yep.
Okay.
So
Alright.
we're all, I mean, it's moving, it's just federal and snail
Right.
pace,
Yeah.
so.
If we were to borrow against it, doesn't that mean there has to be a guaranteed date that we would get it?
That's
Or
where
do you
he
be able
really
borrow
wants to
against
know
it?
when it's official and when it's coming through, making sure all of the i's are dotted and the t's are crossed. But if everybody's in agreement that it's coming, then there could be some temporary loans taken out. They just don't want to take a full loan out because that really should be
Yeah.
approved and go through an actual town vote. So at this point, I mean, we all knew it's coming. It's just the hope is, and that was one part of the email I sent back to EPA Region 1 was, here's the status of a project. We now need to halt on well 4, but we are already out to bid and under construction for well 5 and 6. So, the sooner the later that we can get that moving, that'd be great. So we'll see. We'll wait to get some responses back, and hopefully the person that we've been in contact with is the one that will be kind of assigned to your project, and things aren't stirring back up again, and we can start with new people. But and then there was like a 40-page document that was linked in that. I did not get a chance to read that.
Yeah, I read about the first 2 paragraphs. So
I bet it's a good read.
Yeah, it looked pretty exciting. So I decided to just come.
I think you actually were on that chain.
Oh, was I?
I think so.
I might have deleted it.
I think it came in
I
around 1
like,
o'clock.
I swipe and delete a lot, I guess. That's the kind of stuff I forward to Steve.
Ed Walsh, I think was the guy's name.
Yeah.
I'm more than happy to read it for you.
So I can forward that to you guys too as well, but it is, it's, the good news is that we kind of, Frank was very concerned that we were delayed on paying contractors, and there was gonna be some concerns with that, and so we've worked all that out, at least for 5 and 6, and it was discussed that we probably until, if James has something in place in the future, we're just gonna hold off on, I'm gonna keep our driller on notice, just because he was gonna be able to come out, I think it was October, or I forget, we were complaining about how late that was gonna be,
I
but,
think he's still local.
I mean, he's got stuff everywhere, but,
No, I mean, he's local.
yeah. But it'll be,
That's good.
once the invoices for several $100,000 come in from him for construction of that, or I could say drilling and pumping tests, that's what we're big concern there, so. But the good news is, we went through kind of the amount remaining, what's spent to date through the appropriations currently set aside for 5 and 6, and what was reallocated towards that, and, maybe punch list project close out, we might be talking about a 30,000 difference right now, but for the majority of the 500,000 or so that Bankers has is the, I have the number here, and our services where there shouldn't be any concerns for another several months. And again, it's not too big of a deal, so. So, long and short, I do have pay estimate number 3 from Dankers. We're recommending payment for $111,827.35. It's pretty much for additional delivery of the vaults and some other materials that they have on site now, so. Yeah, they're itching to get going, so just bring this in front of the board here.
Okay. We good to go with this, you guys?
Yeah.
All right, I move that we approve pay estimate number 3 for the wells 5 and 6 replacement project in the amount of $111,827.35 for Dankerous to Dankerous Builders Corp.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Tara.
You get to sign this one?
Yes, I think if you just flip it over, or maybe it's the first page. Sorry, yeah.
Just one on this?
I'm sorry?
Just the top?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Had that.
So the long and short of the Arpa funding is
What are we signing here exactly?
you're scheduled to get around, 1.5 million.
These 3?
Directly underneath, yeah.
Okay.
It's there, it's sitting, it's ready, you're associated with the project, it just is,
Well, he sent out an announcement to everybody in the district, telling them to give us the money. It's not
yeah.
like nobody knows about it.
I think a few other people are in the same boat, like they couldn't wait for the projects, they just need to continue moving. And we applied last April, and they'd indicated, well, it might take a few months, but we're a year and a half later, so. The other part of the meeting that we had last Thursday with Town Hall was to kind of discuss ARPA funding. So the ARPA county funding has been appropriated at least and submitted. I think the town actually has access to it now. The water portion, which is a lot larger of that amount, is actually available right now. And they indicated that we can move forward with the design of the South Washington Street and the East Hodges Street, which is the contract I had emailed over earlier to the commissioners. So that total budget for the overall construction is $2,687,480. That's allegedly ready to go and set aside for roughly 7,000 feet of water on those 2 streets. So what we're putting together right now, what I have in front of the board, is for design and bidding for that portion of the work. It sounds like the wastewater side, the generators are going to be in next fiscal year, and Steve Peterson was aware of that, so he was on the call as well, or at least coming later. I think that's really what we got to do later. There's only a few $100,000, so they're not too concerned.
Pardon me for
Sure.
not catching that. What roads were you just talking about?
South Washington Street from Barrows to let's go to Parker Court, and then East Hodges, Dean Street to Myers Way. So there's, we're getting rid of the AC pipe on East Hodges, and then there's also some lead services, basically the lead goosenecks that we're getting rid of on South Washington Street. So there's a significant amount of unlined cast iron pipe on the South Washington Street that has some goosenecks.
Oh.
Great, so.
Be nice to get that out of the system.
Yeah, and there's some wetlands and there's some culvert crossings, so we'll see what we come up with the design. But overall, it's in the paved right away, so it shouldn't be too difficult to get through. But it'll greatly improve the trunk line if that's part of our capital improvement plan too. That was one of the top end recommendations.
And that's a heavy area of dirty water issues too, isn't it? Similar to Pine Street or with?
Well, it's online pipe.
Yeah,
probably.
that's nothing
Yeah,
like.
I mean, it's
probably
only when there's a
different,
disturbance. Only when there's a major disturbance. Usually not, really. It used to be, but usually not. No.
So how many feet of pipe is this total project?
6,980.
So it's about 7,000 feet, right?
Yes.
Something like that, right?
Yep, 7,000 roughly.
How many feet in our distribution system? How many miles? Anybody know?
I have no idea.
We did a total count for the master plan. I don't think that that's all.
125?
I can't remember your ASRs this year, yeah. It's over
It's a
100.
little-
I thought it was higher than that.
So this is a little over a mile. I mean,
Yes.
you know, so, you know, it's, I'm just curious.
Our goal is to get about, I mean, the capital improvement plan was set up to kind of set up anywhere between $500,000 to $1 million plus a year at least, minimum, per year to kind of get a lot of the unlined and asbestos cement pipe out of the system. So, I mean, you can consider 80 to 100 years, hopefully minimum of lifespan. I mean, 1% a year is kind of the goal, but we're trying to make up from some past time. So we did, Pine Street was 7,000. I think we did 1,000 on White Street. We'll be going through this hopefully this winter. 1,000 feet on, or a little bit more than 1,500 or so on the East Main Street at the end of the, and Home Street.
Yeah.
And then the big one that started kind of all of this was Reservoir Street, trying to get that going.
So what's planned for next year?
This was a big one, so this is actually a little bit more than, it's kind of like 2 years worth
All right.
of work, but it's kind of, it's dependent. I mean, we pushed off a couple projects the last year or so because of COVID at first, and then also on top of it, the wells were the priority, so we're kind of just trying to balance, not too much money for reserves and expenses per year, but the well improvement projects were bumped as a priority.
So this project would be built next summer, you think?
This will probably be a several month long job, but we lucked out on Pine Street and the guys were only out there for 6 or 8 weeks, I think it was, so.
But this
I still
isn't
think
designed yet, so this needs to be
This,
designed
yes,
and permitted and
we can start
everything
survey in the next couple weeks, hopefully. It depends on when we get the signed contracts, but in this case, I'm kind of waiting. I want to see town hall signature a little bit more than you guys know if that's just to make sure they're officially saying that they have the money appropriated, but.
else. That's fine.
We've got 150 days in here for the design, probably be done sooner than that unless we come up with some other issues that we find out during it. But pipe alone, we gotta go out to bid, and that's our biggest concern is how long it's gonna take to acquire the pipe.
Exactly.
So, we passed the plastic pipe thing, and I know we talked about that. So I thought it was a possibility.
It's a possibility.
Just a possibility. That's all. Just throwing it out there as a possibility.
Yep, we've got, we can set it up, we're doing with another community that, you can take a look. The biggest thing I think right now is you wanna just lock in, do a contractor actually be able to complete the work. So some of them have better deals with others, with the suppliers and others, so. But it's
I
a
think,
mix of 8 and 12
what was
inch.
it? Gravity was like, yeah, we got pipe ready to go.
Yep.
Yeah.
And some of them are now saying 6 months versus the 1 year that we were hearing, so,
Well, nobody's gonna have 7,000 pipe laying around their yard, I don't think.
No, they may have a line on it.
yeah, so I don't know what some of the larger firms are doing or not, contractors I should say, but,
Well, like
There's
Steve
use for it, so.
like Steve said, the plastic, that's another avenue that they can use and.
Yep.
um,
you do have
It's a
till
good
20, I think FY #24, you need to make sure that you're already locked in to spend it, so we just need to make sure we're out to bid by then. But also you need to spend the money by the end of FY '26, so there is plenty of time, I guess, on this if you're concerned.
Okay.
I know that for private developments, I know that was completely passed for that, but if you're,
Okay.
if the guys are actually gonna be in charge of the pipes and stuff, PVCO is fine. That can, sometimes be a little bit tough to get to, or it might start to be, I don't know.
Okay, so this is just preliminary, so.
This is just the initial design,
You're
just to
just
kind
letting
of
us know.
get
Okay.
things going. We get out there and we do the survey, get a design out on the street, and then we can make decisions at that point and see
Okay.
where we're at in a few months on
Good.
how we want to put it together. If you want to put an alternate bid together, if you want to go for, PVCO. I mean, we can easily change our plans to say PVCO versus ductile line. That's not, and I have a spec that goes right in. It's not that hard to do. But if you want to set up a bid tab to kind of compare the two or something like that, if you'd rather do that, we can do bid alternates for that. The real date is really just, there's a lot of work out there for contractors right now, so whether they could get the pipe, they might not be able to install it if they have other jobs on the line already, so. But we'll see. I mean, that's, it's one of those things where we've seen pretty standard things the last few months, and, gas goes up, gas goes down. We'll play it by ear in the next few months, and 3 or 4 months from now, once we get started on design, where we're at, and make some judgment calls then.
Okay, good.
So I know you guys, if anybody has any questions, I know Steve already pointed out a MISTA 5 not on the pricing, but at least on the linear footage. But this is for the total project cost, it's design and bidding for $130,900. I'll just let you guys know if you, let me know if you have any questions on that. I just did a markup, but I can certainly send a revised printed copy instead of just sending off on that.
Just the, missing
I'm-
a digit.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
one digit.
No.
Oh, okay.
We can still
No big
vote on
deal.
this though, right, even though it's typo?
Yeah, we should be able to.
It's not in my price, so that's,
I checked that too.
yeah.
All right, any more questions on this, you guys, then? Okay, I would like to move that we, hold on. I would like to move that we approve the agreement for engineering services between the town of Norton and Weston and Sampson engineers for the South Washington Street and East Hodges Street water main improvement projects in the amount of $130,900.
South Worcester Street.
South Worcester Street.
South
South
Washington
Worcester-
Street. I
is it
said
South
South
Worcester or
Worcester
South
Street, didn't I?
No, you said South Worcester.
I-
Oh, you
that-
said South Wash. It's supposed to be South Worcester.
Isn't it South,
It's South
Washington?
South Washington.
No, South Washington.
hold on.
It's South.
Is it right next to South Worcester Street?
No.
South Worcester Street's right up.
I'm sorry, I'm
They
just,
get
There might be,
confused all
there
the
might be,
time.
there might be more typos in this.
I'm reading
confused all the
right
time.
off my sheet
No,
here.
it's
so
South
No, that's
we'll
my
have to do
typo
that
then.
again.
From
Okay.
Barrows to Parker.
Yeah,
Sorry,
This is-
Washington
that
Street?
makes sense,
This
since
is
Washington
South
Street isn't anywhere
Washington.
near East Hodges.
You should try taking samples with South Worcester and South Washington Street. That gets
Frank and I would,
confusing.
yeah,
So
all right.
it's South Worcester?
South Worcester Street, and I will make multiple changes to
Okay,
that.
let me repeat that then, so I say it properly.
Good catch.
Yes, thank you. I would like to move that we approve the engineering services agreement between the town of Norton, Weston, and Sampson engineers for the South Worcester Street and East Hodges Street area water main improvement project in the amount of $130,900.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. Thank you for that catch.
So we have to sign this?
That's not the one we signed, that was just a comment that I did earlier.
Yeah, those
These are
are the
yours?
three. Speaking of White Street, we actually got contracts signed by Town Hall within like a day. So they came back and then we issued the notice to proceed, or if I should say Frank issued the notice to proceed and mailed out the contract for
Just three, okay, yeah,
just,
sorry.
yes. And so that's on the move. I've just emailed them, making sure they got it, and requested that they just let us know when they'd like to start. But I don't know if they're wrapping up other projects or if they did officially. They told me they had the pipe, but let's, we'll see. But we'll keep you posted on when that work will start. But the intent for Gravity Construction was to start the work in the fall and wrap it up before winter sets in. So let's hope we're still on track with that. And I think we've covered pretty much everything else. Yeah, because we talked about well 4, so I'm just kind of in a little bit of holding pattern with that until we hear a little bit more from the feds.
Okay. All right, great, thanks, Darren.
On those jobs, is that will be a trailer? Or is that gonna be, is it gonna be a yard, a trailer? Do you know where they're gonna set up, or?
For White Street, or?
Yeah,
So
White
for White Street, in the past, they usually just kind of put the,
Aren't they building a house right there?
Yeah.
well, they could just put all, you could ask for that.
What the
one.
hell's this for you
Started the
guys?
second story today.
Yeah, a lot of the water projects, they don't kind of have trailers or anything like that. The guys usually will just kind of lay out the pipe, ask for a yard area. I think in the past, I can't remember where they actually used it for.
This is development and they could just load it all there.
Yeah, I think somebody's driveway was there for it, so. But they usually, they'll just leave their trucks somewhere on a side street or have their excavator and a loader will usually stay.
So we have well number 3 there. Could they use that driveway for a layup area?
They cannot store gasoline engines within 100 feet, and preferably
Right.
not.
But they could
Well, in the
store
400-foot
they could
radius of the
store
well
their
side.
pipe- They could store the pipe there.
Zone 1.
And I think you've got wetlands over there, but I
Oh,
don't
yeah.
know either, so.
There is
Okay.
definitely one.
There's the Canoe River's right there.
Yeah, so we'll see where, if some pipe could be stored there at least. But usually they're in charge of finding a laydown yard, talking to locals. They if I recall, they're friendly with one of the other contractors that's right there at the town line, I think. Or they used their yard last time.
Oh, okay.
Across the street
Yeah,
from
the Glen.
East Holmes.
Oh, all the way up there?
Home Street, yeah. now I'm getting confused, I'm too south and east right now, too many of those.
Bernie and Phil's, don't they have a massive parking lot?
No, but there's a, I think just after that, on the, past the gym and stuff up on the left. I'm
Okay.
pretty sure. But as far, I think on Reservoir Street, they just laid it on the side and put it in as, I mean, obviously disinfected it and stuff, but I thought
Right,
they just, but I may be, and that was a longer stretch of road than this, for sure.
yeah, I think they stockpiled a decent amount. If the larger delivery, they just kind of put it on the side of the road with some barrels or put their machinery around
They
it.
could get away with that in Newland, they can't do it on East Main Street though.
No, there wasn't, they definitely put everything on Home Street, but I think by the cemetery
Oh, yeah, yeah.
for that job, but
Yeah.
nobody's complaining.
Okay, Steve, you got a question on this?
I think this is the one. The one?
Fiscal year charges, I think that's it.
Yeah, I'm just curious on this invoice about the City of Taunton, Department of Public Works. Have we paid, there's some wastewater treatment and sanitary collection charge. I'm just curious what that is.
Our Winnicott pump station, King Philip Road, Bay Road area, goes to Taunton.
Okay,
Yep.
now I know. All right, thank you.
It's out of order. Don't yell at me.
I didn't want to put it out of order, that's why I left it in.
No, I screwed it up.
And then I think Steve Peterson had sent you guys the email.
He did.
I'm not sure if there's any questions, but he had sent the Holly Road generators kind of updated bid schedule for that. And then kind of made some pretty general comments. He said they're looking for a lot of so,
Sent us a chart.
yes.
We highlighted something, so he said,
Bid opening.
bid open.
So September 22nd, they're scheduled to have the bid opening for the generator project.
Snail's pace with this, I mean, not out of his hands, but this has been going on forever.
It would have been nice if the original quote was below 50,000, wasn't it? If it was
You're
49.99.
kidding.
Yeah, that would have been about 18 months ago.
Yeah.
I think the original ones were, and one of them came above over, and it's just a mess.
All right, does anyone else have anything?
Yeah, I have one question. On the Board of Selectmen's agenda, it mentioned that the town administrator has been appointed to the Mansfield treatment plant. For what?
Or MFN.
Right, whatever that is.
Yeah.
So do we have representation? Or is this just the
It's still
selectmen?
Diane, isn't it?
Yep,
Yeah,
it's on number 10 of the assignments that says that appointment of Michael Units as a select board representative member to the MFN Wastewater District Commission for a term to expire June 30, 2024.
So the question, I know that he's appointed, and he's representing the town.
Right.
But do we have any, we being the Water and Sewer Commission, have any representation on that? Or do we
I
just
think
pay
I
the
read
bill?
somewhere where Diane stayed on as a representative. She was actually here at a meeting not too long ago.
She's a read every now and then.
As a
She gives us
representative.
updates on the financials.
So she represents Norton. Diane did, and she used to be a Water Commissioner?
She was on the board, yeah.
She was on the
right.
board, yeah.
So, again, do we have any direct representation? I'm just curious, that's all.
I don't really think we have any direct
Those are the two,
representation.
your two town of Norton folks that are on that board.
Yeah.
So shouldn't they be talking to us?
I don't know if they're doing anything, but yes, I mean,
Yeah, well, I mean,
they do,
I know-
I mean, I shouldn't say that, like,
Who are they?
as far as, so each
Well,
town
Diane.
has at least two representatives.
Diane's from Norton, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So Diane and Mike have been on, Mike Units has been on, their term expired in June 30th of 2022.
Right.
And I believe they were both.
I remember her. I
Yeah,
didn't
re-ups for
remember.
another
That was
2
a
years.
couple meetings ago, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was here a few meetings back.
6 months ago, but I'm just curious, so what? I mean, it's nice, I understand, I don't really know what they do. I mean, obviously there's a cost of running the facility and doing capital improvements, which they have to buy into. I get that stuff, I understand. And I imagine there's a formula that is our fair share of that based on our total allocation, I would imagine, right? I never read the agreement, so I assume that. But what do they do? And if there's some issue, is it conveyed to us? I'm just curious. Do we have meetings with them?
Historically, Diane would
Yeah, I was just-
inform Frank
yeah,
that there's something
her
to
and
talk
Frank
about, and
have
put it
a
on the
pretty
agenda.
good,
So is that
I
happening?
personally wouldn't mind having Diane come. I know she enjoys coming to some of the meetings, certainly not next one, but maybe one in September or October, we'll invite her back, and maybe you can
Maybe 6
get
months or
those
something,
questions. Yeah,
like that.
yeah.
I mean, it's a big, I mean, we signed that
Yeah.
invoice recently.
Yeah.
It was one big
Huge.
number, if I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken.
you're right.
So
That's
it'd be
true.
nice to know what, I mean, whether or not
What
even they're
does it
making
entail?
improvements, it's okay. I mean, I think we just should be in the know. And thank you for telling me that. I read that on the agenda. You read those agendas?
I really, I got,
No, I'm just curious. I mean,
I got so much time.
I don't know, well, I've been reading, somehow I get the information from the Selectmen, the Conservation Commission. I read the Conservation because it's, obviously, if those projects are before them, either we have seen those projects or are about to see those projects. So I thought we should just, and so I was reading the Board of Selectmen, I mean, there's, this meeting, there's, they have like 50 appointments they're making, which is fine. But I was just curious about that appointment. Since it's sort of like, it's sort of ours, and I'm not so sure what we have to say about it.
Yep.
Or have an opinion.
Agreed.
on it.
It's kind of thing that if there's ever a problem, I know Diane does, if there is a liaison per se, she's been very good about letting us know, but there's so
Yeah, her-
little that goes on.
her
that
and Frank definitely.
We,
I would think, I mean, I may not be right, but I would think that the people that are Norton's representatives are supposed to be looking after our interests as
Sure.
well, so.
And Frank has passed along over the last couple of years since he's taken over, if Mike and or Diane mention anything, this is, says heads up, you might want to let the board know that this is what happened at the last meeting or something like that. But otherwise, there's really not, I don't think that they've raised the rates anytime, or there's been any issues or concerns with that, but it kind of was set up and it's not really, as far, well, I have to, for the Water Management Act, I did reach out to her and asked her if there was any intent for any future expansion, and because some of the folks on the public comment period for the Water Management Department had requested information on whether or not there'd be more discharge to improve the sub-basin recharge of the area. So I'm sure I'll be hearing from her soon too. But yeah, I'd say every 3 to 6 months we might hear something.
Who is their consultant?
They have a superintendent, and I don't know if,
You look like Darren.
so Steve
Yeah.
Peterson is the wastewater guy. I'm on my drinking water, so he probably knows that off the top of his head.
Okay,
He did say I can call him if you have any questions.
No,
because he
that's
is-
not, I don't want to bother with that. I'm just curious who the consultant is, that's all.
I know Chris Rossiter is the,
Yep. He's the superintendent.
yeah,
Foxborough's DPW director is on the board for them, and I don't know if you know the Mansfield folks. I was just on the website a couple days ago, so I just can't remember who he is.
And one other silly question, how often do they meet?
I don't know, if it's not on the
think it's
board.
Is this a real board, or is this just?
Yeah, is it a
There's a
family?
really there's a nice website.
Is it once a
No one
month?
really
Once
knows
a
anything
quarter?
about this.
Once a month?
This infamous,
Well, I imagine they have to approve invoices.
yeah.
I mean, somebody has to do that, so I
Right.
imagine it could be more often they meet. I'm just curious.
I think Diane is the financial person, I thought. That was her, or part of her role. I know Lee is still on the MFN, Lee Asnera.
Mike Trowbridge, just afterwards.
Oh, they're from the Mansfield
Yep.
guys? Okay.
Thursday's your next meeting.
Yes, Selectmen in
Wait, hold
Mansfield.
on. 8/11 public meeting notice or August 9th? posted on August 9th, the next meeting will be August 11th at 9 AM.
Where do they have their meetings at?
There's a virtual link.
August 11th? Oh, no.
So our next,
Thursday, this Thursday.
so our next meeting is on 2 weeks from today, right?
Yes, sir.
So that's,
Yeah,
that's the
23rd.
23rd.
I have a quick question before we get there.
So they meet Monday.
Unrelated to a comment you just made about the 49,999. So under 50,000 doesn't have to go out to bid, over 50,000 goes.
3 quotes.
Doesn't have to go to sealed bid. If it's over 10,000, we have to get 3 bids. If it's over 50,000, it has to go up to sealed bid.
Okay. I guess my question is, where do those numbers come from, the 10,000 to 50,000? Is that from the state?
Yeah.
Procurement.
Yes.
Yeah, there's
And
state
that's the same for
procurement.
all, that's like Mass General laws, same for all the towns?
It is, but some communities have more stringent requirements, so, but that's the baseline for the state, is 50,000 for, you can do 3.
Because it seems like there's been some projects that have been right in that line that like,
I think it used to
you know,
be
if that
lower.
number was
10.
55, we would have been in much better shape. And
Yeah.
I'm just wondering what kind of act of Congress it would take to change that number.
It really should be higher.
So they went from
Yeah.
10 to
Should be
50 a few
75.
years ago, which was
Oh,
like a
okay.
real big deal. That was great.
Okay. I
So
didn't realize
10,000
that.
used to be, you can get, yeah, you can.
Oh,
Getting
wow,
3
okay.
quotes without sealed bids is an act of Congress, let
Yeah.
alone getting sealed bids, so. Like, I think the Knollwood generator was 18 months ago, we were ready to kind of move forward, and then one quote came in over 50,000, and I don't know why, if one quote's higher than the other 2 aren't. It was all,
That's where I say that there's some state stuff and then there's some local stuff.
Right.
We
Right.
don't get into arguing with the local
That's
stuff.
fine. I was just curious, I didn't realize it had
Some communities
made
did
that
not
big,
go
that
to
is a
50,
big
they're still
change,
at
10 to 50, so.
and
That wasn't too long ago.
And I believe that initially, all the estimates were for below 50,000, and then when we asked for an actual bid, it was like maybe 6 months later, and
okay.
it was over 50,000.
Yeah. I don't think you had a single one under 50, but I think you had something at like 51. And
It might have been that the estimates were all under originally,
Right.
and then
Okay.
after waiting, at least one was over 50.
Right.
All right, thanks.
Alright.
And I believe that was just Knoll. I don't think Holly Road was involved at that point. I thought it was just Knollwood at that point.
I think we started out with the first pump station first, and then, yeah.
Right.
And then once we decided that it was gonna have to go out to bid, might as well, let's put them together.
Right.
Economy of scale, and if you have to put plans and specs together, no reason to put 2 separate contracts on
Mhm.
it, so.
What was the next meeting, the 23rd? Is that right?
I think you guys voted on that already, yeah?
The 23rd, I just looked at it.
Yeah, towards the
Yeah,
23rd,
9
pretty
plus
sure.
14.
Correct.
So looking forward in September for the meetings, just, so the September 27th meeting is the end of the second day of the Jewish holiday,
Mm-hmm.
so we can have the meeting that night. All right, just to let you know. If it was
Did you-
if it was during the first night or something, I would have to not show up, but I mean, I'm just saying.
We're very flexible.
Yeah, we can-
No,
Steve,
so we'll talk about it closer to the.
Okay.
Just so.
Yeah. We can,
Sounds good.
whatever, we're pretty flexible.
I'll bet a few hours. if you guys-
And if you don't know about the Jewish holidays of the education, we're
Rosh
closer
Hashanah?
to that.
It's my birthday anyways.
Okay.
I
I'll give you an
expect
education.
presents.
Okay.
That's the only reason why I put that out there. Anything else, any new or old? All right. All right,
Good.
Jim, with that being
All right,
said,
I would like to move that we adjourn this evening's meeting.
So, second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job. Good job, everyone.
Jeez, I had a lot of typos.